Kimberly Perot here with Wasatch Weekends. Welcome to the Sunday morning edition of the show. Spring has sprung and it is a great time to start exploring new job possibilities. In honor of National Explore Your Career Options Day, I had a conversation with talent acquisition manager and business consultant Emily Gross, as well as our resident in-host job search expert Bill Humbert. Let's take a look at those conversations, but before we get started, the weather. You're going to want to know what's happening today. The job search can be very daunting, and where to start, how to begin, so many questions to be had. I had a conversation with talent acquisition manager and business consultant Emily Gross on how to zhuzh up your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and more. Let's take a look. You know, we are at the beginning of a brand new year. Brand new year means new goals, whether it's personal or professional. And joining me today to talk about how you can apply for jobs, which is, I know, very intimidating to some people. I've got talent acquisition manager and business consultant Emily Gross on the couch with me today to give you all of the advice that you need. Emily, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me back.
Well, you are talent acquisition expert. You talk to people all day long. You hire people, you give advice, you train a team. So you know all things business and the ins and outs of it. So let's talk about 2024. We're coming into new technology, new ways to do things, whether it's looking for a job, whether it's writing a resume or a cover letter or even a headshot. So ChatGPT, I know that is the hot topic. Tell me all about it.
Yes, I am absolutely loving ChatGPT. I'm exploring with it. I'm learning more about its capabilities every day. And also job seekers, not only because it's a new year and people are looking for new opportunities, you know, there's a lot of layoffs happening. Any of us can be looking for a job at any moment in time, you know, of course. So we now have tools that can make it a lot easier. ChatGPT has been amazing. You can start by uploading your resume to ChatGPT with a job description of a job that you're interested in, even multiple if they're similar, and then prompt ChatGPT to cater that resume to those job descriptions. It's going to embed those keywords, and it's really going to help you look like the best candidate. That's
great. So you can literally take the job description of the job that you want and then take your resume and tell ChatGPT to match them?
Yes.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So when we use ChatGPT, so that's just with your resume, but oftentimes with the job search, you've got to have a cover letter, or it's intimidating to upload them into the search portal because you've got to enter in your employer, your address, what you did, all of those things. So how does ChatGPT help?
Yes. So writing a cover letter, I've heard from so many people that they're motivated, they're ready to go, they're applying to jobs, and then they get the upload the cover letter as well, and they're like, So don't be, intimidated by that. Go to ChatGPT, put your resume in again, put that job description in, and prompt it to write you a cover letter for that specific job. You can also add, I like to talk to my ChatGPT, so I'll say, add a little note about this and things like that. Then whatever version it gives you back, I'm always tweaking it, coaching it, really catering it. I'll say, make it more casual, make it shorter, make it more professional, make sure you mention this recent company accomplishment. So never really take the first version that it gives you, and you're gonna learn so much of its capabilities by prompting it more and more.
That's great. You know, gone are the days of people who have careers in resume writing. So they're going to need to use ChatGPT to find their next job.
Yes.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit more about technology. So AI is great. So you mentioned for resumes and for cover letters, but how else can you use ChatGPT to help refine your professional profile?
Yes. So many things. Another thing that I was loving that it can do is you can upload, again, your resume, that job description, and the company information once you do have an interview scheduled. Then you can prompt ChatGPT to give you interview questions.
Oh, wow.
And then you can start answering them. Make sure you're using that star format with all of your answers. And you're going to be very prepared, because who knows, that hiring manager might even be using ChatGPT to generate those questions. So you're going to be very prepared, or it'll be similar questions. So that's another way it helps.
No, that's great. So you said star format.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's just making sure that you're really giving the full story. So when someone asks you about a challenge that you faced, again, stay away from saying, I usually or sometimes. We want to take them to a specific time and place where you faced a challenge, start to finish, the situation, you know, the action that you took, and you cannot forget the results. So getting all of that together, practicing with ChatGPT, answering those questions is going to have all of your responses right on the tip of your tongue.
So if you got the interview, you use the ChatGPT, everything looks great, and now you're sitting with a hiring manager. How do you really wow a hiring manager in your questions? Like, what would you recommend as far as types of questions to ask, how to answer their questions, what to wear, all of that?
Sure. Well, I'm gonna say again, you can use ChatGPT. You can prompt ChatGPT with saying, what are some great interview questions for this interview that I could ask myself that will show my enthusiasm. Or a lot of times you can even have it reword something you're wondering about. I want to ask them about their last year. What's a great way to phrase that? So ChatGPT can help you. And again, all of this with AI, you still are going to put your personal touch on it, and that is really the magic. The AI is going to take, I think, a lot of the stress and a lot of the time that you would be spending on this, and it will allow yourself to be yourself, I personally think, because a lot of times I'll hear something great from ChatGPT, and I'm like, that's wonderful content. I know exactly now how to make it my own. So it's really helpful.
That's great. Now, if you're not necessarily looking, but you want your profile to look good, your professional profile. So how do you make it look good? You know, when you're putting content on your profile, should it be exactly the same as your resume? And then also, let's talk about what your picture should look like.
Yes, this is, I think, the fun stuff. I mean, it's all fun, but this gets really fun. So they are now offering AI-generated professional headshots. There are several different apps and websites that are offering it, so I'm not going to endorse one in particular. But the average price is about $30. A lot of them even have a 7-day trial. You upload about 10 pictures of yourself, and then it literally gives you hundreds of professional photos to choose from. And when you get them back, you will see that AI still struggles with fingers and teeth. So the hundreds is useful. But you'll be surprised that they really are able to capture the essence of who you are, looking really professional.
I don't know if I should be excited or scared, because that is impressive. So you usually about 10 photos and they generate 100 images from those 10.
Yes, and they give you all kinds of outfits and looks and colors, and you know, you can customize. Say like, I don't like the color purple, I like the color blue, or what have you. So I just think it's super fun. And for a lot of people that don't have access to someone to take a photo of them, or good lighting, or professional clothes, I think it's a great way to get yourself out there started looking and feeling your best.
That's so important. And a lot of people don't even know how to pose in front of the camera at times.
Totally.
So that's a great way just to really elevate your professional profile.
Yes.
So other platforms. So we've been talking a lot about ChatGPT.
Yes.
We've talked about these photo apps that can give you a professional headshot. But there's got to be more out there. So tell me all about it.
Yes, I am learning about the full cycle ones now. The ones I've been hearing the most are Teal HQ and Use Massive. They will take you full cycle. They will create your resume for you based on a series of questions. A lot of them are multiple choice, so it creates an algorithm for you. You obviously put in your personal information as far as where you have worked and the things you've accomplished. Also, be sure to make them measurable accomplishments on there. And then it will actually suggest jobs that you should apply to. It will apply to the jobs for you. It will keep track of the application status. It will even send follow-up communications for you. It's incredible. So they can even say that they can even apply to 300 jobs per month for you.
Wow.
I think it would be for someone who's maybe starting out younger in your career and you're just kind of open to a lot of different things. I do want to put a disclaimer out there. With any AI, be very careful with your personal information. Do not include your street address. You can put the city and state that you live in. Do not put your actual phone number. I would recommend creating a Google number. They're free, so absolutely please do that. I would also recommend just creating another Gmail account just for job applications. So everything's all in one place. It's a professional email address, and that way you're protected. Because if you're going to be sending your information to out to 300 people, we want it to be very secure. So please keep that in mind.
I love that you mentioned professional email address. I've seen some email addresses that should have been left in the 90s.
Same, but they give me a good laugh though. So
it's true. Well, Emily, where can we go to get career advice, to connect with you? Talk to me about how can we follow you and just use your knowledge.
Yeah. Anyone is welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Emily Gross. I do want to mention one other tool that I'm super excited about. If you don't mind, it's quick, but I was thrilled to hear this. So, when you're going and you're applying to jobs and then you upload your resume, your cover letter, you think you're all good to go, and then it prompts you to put in every single detail, month, year, a full application that's like 10 pages long. There's a web extension, a browser extension called Simplify, and it autofills for you.
Amazing.
I was so excited to hear that. So anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Emily Gross. I love giving career advice. Again, we're living in a time where lots of people are getting laid off and all different things are happening. And I'm so passionate about helping people find their job in a less stressful way. So
you're very approachable, and I'm sure you've helped many careers change and many lives change. So Emily Gross on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Great. Well, we'll make sure that people connect with you there, and thank you for all of your knowledge and your information.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now stay tuned. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. There are so many ways to approach the job search and so many ways as a hiring manager to assess the talent that you are reviewing and meeting. We had a conversation with Bill Humbert about all of those things as well. Now, our next guest is no stranger to our show here, but is also quite the expert when it comes to the job search from a candidate perspective, from a company consulting perspective. And this first conversation is going to be all about the company side of things. So, Bill, how are you this morning?
I am well, Kimberly, and yourself?
I'm excellent. It's always great to chat with you. So I'm very excited about this conversation because we're often talking about, deleting recruiting from HR and the sales piece of it. And then we're also talking about the candidate strategy and how to properly look for a job. But this conversation is so interesting because we're talking about how do recruiters set proper recruiting goals to make sure that they are basically sticking up to the standards for their internal business partners.
Sounds good. So when you think about talent attraction, what you're trying to do is you're trying to attract the best candidates to your company. And too often, human resources does not understand that they are in a sales process. And they will then measure the wrong activities. For instance, is receiving 400 resumes for a position better than receiving 3 that are on target? The answer is no. And the reason that they're receiving those 400 responses is probably because the job description's poorly written and people really think, well, maybe I can do that job. I'm not sure exactly what it is. So that's the reason why we're talking about proper goal setting for the recruiters.
It's so true. Pinpointed recruiting is often the better result and a better use of your time. So you have an acronym that, you know, I've noticed about recruiting and setting recruiting goals. So tell me all about it.
You know, it's funny, Kimberly, I set my goals to hitchhike all the way from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in 5 days in 1969 using this acronym. So I've had it for a long time, and the acronym is SCAMPS, SCAMPS. And so how do recruiters set proper goals for recruiting? Just follow the acronym. S is set a specific goal with a strategy to achieve that goal. For instance, set a goal to talk to 10 different candidates per day for a specific position. And you know what? Maybe those candidates don't even know that they're a candidate yet. You have to recruit them. C is the goal needs to be challenging. And here's the problem with your brain. If it's not a challenging goal, your brain goes, that's boring. I'm not interested. So it's got to be a challenging goal. The A is it has to be attainable. Like I said, your brain's smart. And if it's not attainable, it's going to go, I'm not wasting my time doing that. So it has to be attainable. And it needs to be measurable. So that's the reason why I gave the example of calling 10 candidates for one specific position per day being your goal. Is it challenging? Yes, because you're not going to make 10 phone calls and get 10 people. So you'll have to keep going and making those calls until you get the right person. And then measure the results too, because maybe you may have to change your pitch that you're making to those candidates, and you can just make those adjustments on the run. It needs to be public. And the reason it needs to be public is because the public will help you and it will keep you on target and accountable. The other thing is you make these calls to people within your network. They may not be in the same industry, they may not be in the same field, but possibly their spouse is, possibly one of their best friends or a family member is. You never know where you're going to get those results from your networking. And that's making it public. And then finally, set a specific end date. So for me, the two S's are the bungee cord that ties scamps together. And once you have that specific end date, now you can measure your activity versus the goal that you set.
I love that. So strategy and the result, and you kind of fill in the gaps in between, and that's what the beauty of LinkedIn, and you can see people commenting or, you know, somebody that's not in their network. So lots of good strategy there as well. So let's talk about hiring manager goals. So what are they, and specifically how does that go hand in hand with the recruiter?
Well, you know, Kimberly, you have an advantage that few people who interview me have, and that is you are a recruiter also. And so this will resonate with you. Too often, managers put off responding to resumes. And the best candidates have short shelf lives. So it's important that within 24 hours, they get back to you about a person's candidacy based on the resume they saw. And probably, in my case, I do a phone screen of every candidate I introduce to a manager. And so the manager not only has the resume in front of them, but they have my phone screen. So they've got a lot of information about that person. And so it's important for them to get back to me within 24 hours to let me know, am I interested or not? And if not, why not?
That's exactly right. You know, I think for me, and now that we're talking about what else I've done in my professional work history, I tend to respond to the hiring managers that are the most responsive, and that's where my focus is going to go because they're motivated and they're engaged and they're interested. So that kind of comes down to company goals. You know, let's talk about the company goals and what are their primary goals with getting new candidates and new employees onto their payroll.
The company goals are both simple in description and difficult to maybe do. You know, I've been recruiting for over 40 years, and the majority of managers that I have recruited for don't know how to effectively interview. And if you don't know how to effectively interview, you're going to hire the wrong person. And what I hear so many times, and I've heard it enough times, I even have a saying that I respond, and that is, well, this candidate feels good in my gut. And my response is, you know, guts are really good for storing and processing food, not so good for selecting the right candidate.
Not
So
good,
it's
not good for
important.
feelings.
Right. And so it's important for the company to spend some time and have those managers taught how to properly and effectively interview, and then do that several times, you know, kind of take a Dale Carnegie approach, do it several times through a year, just review and see how they're doing versus what they were doing before. And then the other goal for the company is to track consistently the manager's hires. And that'll give you a sense of how well they're interviewing, number one. But, you know, look at the candidates who were hired and how did they respond in the work world? Did they move the position up to another level? Did they just keep it at the same level, or worse, did they fail?
It's very, very important. And, you know, Bill, we appreciate your insight, especially because you are a leading attraction consultant in all across the board in the U.S. You've worked nationally, and so very impressive work. This is great conversation because usually we have the conversation from the job search perspective. So, you know, we've got hiring managers that are watching and listening, so this is a great way for them to reevaluate their business. We appreciate your insight and all that you do.
And there's one more thing that's really important.
Sure.
Remember, the best candidates are attracted to companies with the best employees. That means tracking how the manager's hires are doing is very important.
That's 100% correct. You know, people stay with managers and they stay with people, not necessarily because of who the company is. So that couldn't be more spot on, Bill. We appreciate your insight there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, stay tuned. We'll be back with more. And Bill Humbert, always a pleasure to speak with you.
It's been great, Kimberly. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this quick break. Sundays are a great day to begin that new job search if you are thinking about embarking on the journey. I hope you enjoyed the informative conversations that we had on the show today. I'm your host, Kimberly Pro, and thanks for joining the Sunday morning edition of Wasatch Weekends.